Hi, my name is Brandon and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Got a request to do a video about how do you keep your brain healthy during recovery. When we're in addiction, our brain's chemical composition is really thrown out of whack because we're throwing all of these chemicals at it. It produces all these chemicals artificially in response to that. We end up in position where tolerance produces these situations where all of these things are interacting to create these really negative emotions, and everything is just in a position where it's totally out of balance, and we've got to figure out in recovery, what do we do to restore balance to a damaged brain, and what do we do to get ourselves back to a place where our brains are producing the kinds of chemicals that we need in order to live a healthy, content, and peaceful life. So there's a few different things that I have had to do on a daily basis and that I continue to do on a daily basis. These are the things that I've found have really helped. And it's really the basis of recovery. I think that a lot of the practices that you pick up in any recovery program can help. But the first thing that I will talk about is practicing a program of recovery. Doing this has helped me in many ways to restore some balance emotionally to my life. Introducing prayer, for instance. Prayer primarily is a place for me to express gratitude and express a willingness to help others. That's really what I'm doing in my prayer. And taking some time each day to do that, just that little thing is helpful for me to get in the right mindset. Just getting in a mindset and a perspective where you're willing to do something for other people and you have a spirit of gratitude can work wonders on the way that you're interacting with other people throughout the day. If I carry that kind of spirit with me, then during the day I can actually help people. Helping people, volunteering to do things for other people, and spending your time thinking of others and thinking of what you can do in the world rather than thinking of what you can get from the world, that in and of itself changes the way that your brain and your emotions start to interact for the better. Now, I can tell you that in my experience, I started to see depression slide away during my recovery and anxiety slide away during my recovery when I started thinking more about other people and stopped focusing so much on me. So that's one thing, program of recovery, and I could go on about all sorts of different ways that I approached it. I did things like self-affirmation in the mirror. That's something that's very helpful for a lot of people. And then other tools that you can use. Journaling. One of my favorite journaling tools is when you are in a very, very tough mental spot, very angry or depressed, or don't know what to do. Journal about it. And a very useful journaling technique is to write to yourself as yourself. Write as yourself in the morning. Just get it all out there. Express all your feelings and emotions the way they are. Don't hold back. And then in the evening, respond to that as if you were a higher power, if you have one, or a loving parent, or a caring friend, or someone who is responding with compassion, with caring, with love, and just see what happens. And just doing that for me has helped me resolve so many difficult issues, and it's gotten to a point where now mentally I can do that with myself. When I get really upset, I can think, well, how would you consider this if you were someone coming in from the outside who really cared about you? And that often gives me the insight that I need to resolve issues that in my addiction would have plagued me for days or weeks or caused major problems in my life. So those are kind of the recovery-based activities that I think are really important. The two other things that I think are super important in terms of producing the kinds of chemicals that we need in our brains, and then also reducing things like anxiety, is daily exercise. Daily exercise, let me dispel a myth right here. This does not mean you're going out and put 90 minutes in the gym or running, 10 miles a day. This does not have to be hardcore, crazy exercise. You don't have to be a ninja warrior to get good exercise. Good exercise could be a 45-minute walk around the block. If you don't have time for a 45-minute walk, do 30. If you don't have time for 30, do 15. If you don't have time for that, I would suggest look at areas in your life where you can make time. Get up 15 minutes earlier in the morning, because exercise is worth it. The first year of my recovery, I didn't exercise at all. I won't go into all the different reasons. It was a weird time. The pandemic had just started. And I didn't exercise at all. I gained all sorts of weight, and I kept hitting roadblocks in recovery. Kept having problems. As soon as I started to exercise on a daily basis, then all of a sudden I saw some things change. My mental outlook changed. My anxiety level went down. My propensity toward depression started to go away. And my ability to calmly handle situations that used to baffle me kind of started to dissipate as well. So daily exercise, very important, releases a lot of the same chemicals that we used to enjoy as people who were using. It just releases them in a natural and healthy way. And then the last thing that I'll mention is eating well, eating healthfully. Again, during the first year of my recovery, I didn't pay any attention to what I was eating. I was eating terrible, terrible food. I gained a lot of weight, and I felt bad most of the time. I just didn't feel good. And a lot of that was related to the food I was eating. Now, because I didn't feel good physically, I didn't feel very good mentally either. And those two things play off of each other, create an environment where I was not in a good state of mind sometimes. So as I started to care more about my physical health and started to really pay attention to the way that interacted with my mental health, then I started to eat more healthfully. Got a colorful plate, lots of veggies and salads and peppers and carrots, eating not to get full. So, I will eat lunch that doesn't necessarily fill me up, and I'll be hungry a couple of hours later, and that's okay. Because what I found is that as I started to adapt more healthful eating habits, I started to notice that I wasn't getting tired as much during the day. And, used to, I would go get a big sandwich and eat it for lunch. And then 30 minutes after eating lunch, I was ready to take a nap. Or I would eat a couple of breakfast tacos, and by 10:30, I was ready to go fall asleep again. And I don't get that anymore when I'm eating the way that I do now, when I'm trying to focus on lean protein, good veggies, that kind of thing, and then smaller snacks in the afternoon. And then at night, I don't eat sometimes I'll eat a big meal, but usually I'm eating smaller portions and not filling myself up at night. That helps me get better sleep. And I said that food was the last thing, but sleep is the other thing. You got to get a good night's sleep. Getting a good night's sleep is a key component to mental health. And it was a hard lesson for me to learn as someone who didn't really think much about sleep. and really had the attitude of I'll sleep when I'm dead, and sleep is for the weak, and all of these ideas that kind of get pushed on us in society these days. The truth is, sleep is one of the most important aspects of mental health, and I can get way more done in the 16 hours I'm awake. If I get a good 8 hours of sleep, I can get way more done in the 16 hours I'm awake than if I only got 4 hours of sleep and was awake 20 hours. That's the way I am. I'm way more productive when I get a good night's sleep. So, in summary, those are the things that you got to focus on, that I've had to focus on at least for mental health and recovery. Sleep, healthful eating, exercise, and then recovery practice. If you do all of these things and you keep an open mind and you look at expanding your knowledge about the world around you, things like that, you're way more likely to be producing the kind of chemicals in your brain that will keep you grounded, keep you in a peaceful and serene place, and help you stay away from those head spaces where alcohol and drugs start to look like viable solutions for any problems you run into. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.